Welcome back, my fellow Brew Bros and Brew Sisters. This is Magus the Brew, number 4, the podcast where we contrive combo decks and Commander, crack open cold ones at the same time. Today's Commanders are the newest Izzet coin flipping duo, Zndrsplt Eye of Wisdom and Okaun Eye of Chaos. And in honor of our one-eyed friends, we are drinking the Victory Brewing Company Sour Monkey. So initially, from what I felt like the community, nobody really liked Battle Bond, and I'm never one to shy away from a new set. I mean, I'm not going to play Battle Bond in the way that it's initially intended to be a draft two-headed giant format, admittedly, but it's always an option for new cards, new things to work with, and reprints. And this set has a lot of reprints, and I think a lot of those are appreciated in the Commander community. So, I take it at face value that way. Now, it's not without complaints for the set. If you look at the dual lands that they printed for this set, they're in allied colors. And all the commanders in the set, the partner with commanders, are all in enemy colors. So you interestingly can't use the commanders you pick with the lands that you get in the set. And as far as allied colors go, the allied commanders already have the talismans, so maybe they'll print the new enemy colored talismans in Commander 2018, but I don't know that yet. And I guess beyond that, Will Kenrith kind of looks like a douchebag. I feel like I've seen that dude Laguna Beach or something before, so I guess there's that. But the one commanders that actually caught my eye, there's a couple, it's a decent set, but were Zndrsplt, Eye of Wisdom, and Okaun, Eye of Chaos. Now, for the majority of this deck, I'm not going to lie, Okaun, Eye of Chaos will not be cast, but he's used for his red cost. So there's that. And I don't know, initially kind of when I saw them, I thought of, for one, Zndrsplt is kind of like from the DC universe, Mr. Mixie Spitlick, the fifth dimensional imp that is half of the anti-life equation or whatever. Or you can kind of think of them as from Monsters Incorporated. I know it's a kid's movie, but whatever. Sully and Mike Wazowski. It's kind of how I see them. I don't know. But they're the newest. They're the new commanders or new partner commanders, and these are in opposition to the Commander 2016 commanders. These ones are the monogamous commanders or the meant to be commanders, where they only pair with each other and they don't pair with other commanders with the same. They're different. Instead of I guess you would consider the Commander 2016 commanders to be swinger commanders, I guess. But Zndrsplt, for reference, since he's the more important part in this deck, obviously he has partner with Okaun, Eye of Chaos. And which means, I know it reads that if you target player can search from their library, but for the sake of in Commander, you can have them both in your command zone. It works that way. But he specifically states he costs a blue and a 4. He's a homunculus, and he's a 1/4, so big butt, even though he's tiny, but big butt still. At the beginning of combat on your turn, flip a coin until you lose a flip, and whenever a player wins a flip, draw a card. Now, there's been a lot of buyouts on coin flipping related cards, and some of these cards have gone from 25 cents to somewhere around $10. So, that's kind of shitty, but it's kind of the way Magic is right now. A lot of people doing buyouts, speculating, whatnot. So the card we use in this deck is Frenetic Freet. Frenetic Freet is a very kind of it's an old card that I think is worded incorrectly. And it was later fixed with Frenetic Sliver, but this is the card. So it's a 1, a blue, and a red. It's an Efreet. It's a 2/1. It has flying. And you can pay 0, flip a coin. Target opponent calls heads or tails is obviously changed. This is the original text off the original Mirage card. When the flip ends up in your favor, Frenetic Efreet phases out. Otherwise, you have to sacrifice Frenetic Efreet. The issue with this card is that you can stack infinite coin flips because unlike Frenetic Sliver, which requires it to be on the battlefield, Frenetic Efreet does not. So you can just activate the ability, since it costs nothing, an infinite number of times. And this will undoubtedly win you enough flips, over the course of time. And it should be shortcuttable, but you never know. Some people get upset or whatever. The deck building requirements for this deck, though, is that you have to be able to win on the stack. Like, you have to actually be able to respond to your own coin flip trigger off of the frenetic, or off of Zndrsplt to draw your deck. So what basically happens, you stack all the coin flips, draw your deck with Zndrsplt, and then you have to respond to the draw trigger or the coin flip trigger. You have a choice here, and then win the game. I don't know if a lot of people have thought about this, but this is what you have to do. Now, I figured it out. The way I'm doing it is you need 3 mana to win this way. We do play Simian Spirit Guide, though, which adds 1 red mana, so I guess you effectively need 2. But it's not a necessary card in the deck. But you have to play Shimmer Mirror. Shimmer Mirror costs 3 and has flash, and all your artifact spells also have flash. This is borrowed from the Shimmer Zur list, very famous competitive EDH deck. So you cast Shimmer Mirror. This gives all your artifact spells haste. So you cast all the low, cheap artifact cards out of your deck, and then you can cast Aetherflux Reservoir, and then kind of laser beam everybody. You have to build up a little bit of Storm. You can't just cast just the artifacts, but you can get pretty close to doing just that. And that pretty much wins you the game. That's our first avenue to victory. The second one would be you get the same way, play out all the artifacts, and you play Icecrown Scepter with Dramatic Reversal. And you can do this still on the stack. This whole deck has to work on the stack. And you, responding to the trigger, you generate infinite mana, and then Blue Sun Zenith an opponent, right? And then Blue Sun Zenith shuffles back in. So then you let a drawer trigger resolve off the coin flips, and then draw your Blue Sun Zenith, cast it again on an additional opponent, and then keep doing this until everybody is decked out. Now, to avoid losing the game at this point, you have to then flash in Sundial of the Infinite and then end your turn. And this ends everything that's on the stack, and you will then pass the turn, and each opponent will deck out. And then, just because we're running Sundial of the Infinite and Icecrown Scepter, I decided to include Final Fortune. Final Fortune is just 2 red for take an additional turn. At the end of the turn, you lose the game. What basically works this way is you can just take infinite turns, because you can take an extra turn, and then on your second main phase or first main phase or whatever, once you've done your turn, you just Sundial, and then the lose the game trigger is removed from the stack. So, and then you take your extra turn, and then you rinse and repeat, and then you have infinite turns. This actually gave me a unique opportunity to play one of the newest cards, Spellseeker. Blue and 2, wizard. And you can, when it enters the battlefield, you search your library for a instant or sorcery with converted mana cost 2 or less, which is kind of like a merchant scroll, but not exclusive to blue and instants. It's actually like a really good card. I think Spellseeker is a very powerful card, and I want to test it out. I think it'd be a new fun one. Beyond that, because this deck, if this deck was like green or black, you'd probably go all in Frenetic Efreet. But the issue here is, though, with the colors that are just blue and red, searching up a creature is not particularly easy. So we run into a weird scenario where the only tutors we have available for a creature are Gamble and Drift of Phantasms, the Transmute card. So I decided to take it to like a prison utilities like control type deck, because there's a few cards I've been wanting to try out in this genre that I hadn't really had a chance to. So the deck plays Blood Moon and Back to Basics. I mean, those are both very powerful cards and don't need a lot of explanation. The only thing is you have to play a lot of basic lands, which is not particularly hard to do. Everybody has basic lands, just a small deck building requirement. And then I'm also running, because I've always wanted to try these cards out, we have Psychic Surgery, which is a blue and a 1. Whenever an opponent shuffles his or her library, you may look at the top 2 cards of their library. You may exile one of those, then put the rest on top of that library in any order. This kind of I'm looking kind of to stall out the game in this deck a little bit. And this deck can actually win pretty fast. I mean, you only need one card to win. You only need Frenetic Efreet. So if that's in your hand, solid. But since there's not really, we only effectively have 3 copies of the deck or of that card, and we're like 2.5 really, because Gamble's like a half copy because you might discard your card accidentally and blow yourself out. So the deck kind of works in the same way that like I need a little bit of time to set up. So I'm going to try to like control the game. This deck plays like a lot of different counter spells, just to kind of get us there. You can win fast, but not necessarily. And then a card I've always wanted to play, Smoke. 2 red enchantment, very old enchantment. Players can't untap more than 1 creature during their untap step. None of our creatures untap in this deck. So that's not really necessary for us. It's basically like kind of slowing down all the mana dorks and other things of other people's decks. Or any creatures that have tap abilities that are integral to their combos or whatever. So we're kind of more going for a control type build in this deck. And I think that is, I mean, basically the deck. It's interesting. I mean, I think we all wanted a coin flip commander. Until they make Planeswalkers legal commanders, we won't be able to play Ral Zarek, so this is what we got, and I think they are pretty interesting duo. So fun deck, and you enjoy yourselves.